Well, hey everybody, I'm on the back deck of the OC. Today's Friday. I think it's April the 2nd. I want to say something about the picture that I got on my cover on my Facebook page. It's the big picture of my mom, and it's colorized. And that picture had never been seen before. In other words, my sister found it in a group of photos that I have been going through and gave her bunches and bunches of them over the years that I accumulated them, and she accumulated her own. So when I was there visiting one time, I used her scanner and I scanned a bunch of all of them, just every one, no dupes. Didn't want them, but I sorted out the duplications and sorted out all the originals that I could find the best of and high quality. Scanned them all. So they're in an album called Loved Ones, or My Loved Ones, or something like that. But there's a lot of them. It's really good pictures that needed to be protected and digitized. The scanner was older technology back a few years ago, so the pictures are not as pristine as they could be. But I posted that one of my mother and a friend from South America colorized it for me. And then I purposely intended to ask my brother, my sister both, myself, have we ever seen that picture before in all of our lives? And we said no. And I knew instantly right then, when I seen it, I had never seen it. I have a gift, this dyslexia, and it's other specific learning disabilities that make it real hard for me to read and write. But every picture I've ever seen, I have it in my mind. Every picture. Give you an example. I've seen every picture in my whole family and can remember every one of them and see them in my mind when I just close my eyes. That's a gift. Not many people can do that. And that helped me in my career as a surveyor and later on in heavy construction when I had to read blueprints before the building was ever built and understand where we were, in a coordinate-based system. And I was very good at it. I could catch construction mistakes by just seeing where one wall was being formed and another wall was being measured off of that, and I could just see it in my mind. It didn't match the blueprints. Same thing with pieces and components of heavy equipment, like cylinders with pipe fitting weldings on it. I could just almost look at it and know that I seen it in the drawings and know that it was wrong, and measure it and it would be wrong. And I did that multiple times in my career. But a lot of times I got fired for being able to do that because the people, they needed their job and wanted my job, and they realized I couldn't read the notes, and I had to have somebody else to read the notes for me. So it was a detriment to my career. But it was a plus. I had fun doing it. I mess construction at that level, at heavy construction like paper mills and power plants. And so let me get back onto this story about my mama. I had to give you that background to show you that that picture has been inserted into our lives. And some people go, well, how could that happen? How could that be? Well, there's a few ways. And one of the ways is I have reoccurring dreams of my mother. And in these reoccurring dreams, they're more real than this reality is real. It's solid, smells, taste, touch. I've sat down at the table with her, and she looks just like she looks in the picture. Pristine, beautiful. And she was a hell of a cook. And she would... So some of these adventures where I've been in that parallel universe, of course I'm sleeping, this body is at rest at night, and I was able to go out of body, astro travel, whatever you want to call it. I have only done it a handful of times, but it was marvelous. And in that reality, me and her, we can talk about her being dead in this reality, but we can't talk about it in front of people. And she knew that. She knew that she was in another reality, a multiverse reality, a simultaneous existence, a parallel reality. She didn't understand everything about the two being one, but she could tell me things that triggered me back into the time when I was young, and she would tell me things about the Bible. She would tell me things about the Roman Catholic Church system that was what we're finding out today to be the beast, that part of the system that is called the beast system. And so I had to reflect on when was the first time she ever mentioned it, and all I can do is see images and realize that she was 100% correct, and it stayed with me down into my body, in my atoms, in my DNA. And later, much later in life, after she passed, now she was 47 years old and she died of lung cancer. Now let me say this: not only was it not, I don't think it was meant to happen. Honestly, I think she was supposed to live a very long time. And she is and will in another multiverse reality. And that's okay. That's perfectly fine. That if I never see her again, it's okay. I know that she was meant to be in my life. And of course, she was my mom, and my daddy was meant to be my dad. But there's a whole nother part of this story about how she would prophesy and talk about God. And I don't want to go off into too many details about it, but let me say like this. As beautiful as my mother was, she was broken, fractured at many levels in my timeline. She was bipolar, never had the right meds, never even considered going to a psychiatrist. She was an alcoholic. That's hard to say. She just had a problem. And I grew up with that problem. I started drinking at 11. By the time I was 14, I was well on my way to being an alcoholic. But I was delivered at 28. At 28, I had a psychotic break, and I'll tell that story one day, but I'm not going to tell it right now. I can just tell it like this. At 28, when I made eye contact with myself in the mirror, I knew I'd never smoke again. I was smoking 3 and 4 packs a day and drinking a fifth of whiskey every 2 days. It all fell away. I stopped drinking caffeine, Cokes, Pops, cigarettes, marijuana, pain pills. God knows I was taking a hell of a lot of pain pills. All kinds of other things, but it all fell away. The hardest thing to get delivered of was the cigarettes. My mama was a heavy smoker. My daddy was a heavy smoker. So I grew up around it. And it is so freaking addictive that years and years later, probably even to this day, I can't think of, it's been a couple of years since I had a dream of me smoking, passing a cigarette to somebody, and being all of a sudden consciously aware, using that as a trigger to be lucid in a dream. And it worked. I was able to be lucid and realize, wait a minute, That's not me. That's, if anybody is smoking, if there's a buddy in a multi-reality, I have collapsed that all down to the singularity of this event horizon of this now, where none of them are smoking. None of them exist because smoking wasn't what I want it to be. I did not want to be a smoker. So that is over 33 years ago. I haven't had a drink of whiskey, wine, cigarettes, pain pills, only when I had to have specific types of surgery, and I took the very, very minimum. All right, I'm jumping all around talking about me when I want to be trying to explain the story of how that picture got there. My mama told me when she visited me, the first Mother's Day after her death, she died, I think the date was April the 14th. I don't know the year right this second. I'm going to find out, and I'll tell you in future videos what year she passed away. But I was married. I had my 2 babies. So my oldest, Mallory, was old enough to know my mother, but young enough not to have too good of memories, except for pictures and videos and things like that. I wish I did have more video of my mother, but that's a whole nother story. That video is trapped inside of a hard drive that crashed. And maybe one day that hard drive will come back to life. But for right now, that's okay. It's all okay. But that picture, during that visitation where Mother's Day, she looked just like she looked in that picture, even more pristine with light. She was in her light body. And she told me about her passing and about understanding what death is and understanding that she could only do that one time. And she did it for myself and for my stepfather the same night. She said it took so much energy that she couldn't do it ever again. That was a one-time only shot. And I told my wife, and we drove over to my stepdad's house. He met me coming up off of the porch, out of the porch swing that she loved so much, and walked over to come to the car. And as we get out of the car, he says, "Your mama come to me in a dream last night, boy." I said, "She did me too." We sat down, and my wife was shocked. She was just shocked. But she knew that, in a funny way, I had always been able to kind of see what's coming in the future. And I could, I knew he knew, that kind of thing. But we talked about it, and that's, if you can understand this, that's the beginning of where that picture came from. Now people say, well, that was when your baby was young. Now your babies are 36 and 34. Then how did the picture show up? It was part of the timeline jumping, quantum jumping, and the actual visitations that I made to that reality. It set up an opening, a porthole in time and space, like the Mandela Effect. If you don't know what the Mandela Effect is, I got playlists that talk about it. The Mandela Effect. It's an original. How do you say it? It's a holdover inserted into time and space, into this now. And if you can get this, I'm going to shut it up right here and talk to you later about this part of it. Much hard to explain, but once you get it, you'll never doubt who you are and why you're here. There's only one time, and the people that have controlled the world control the lie about time. It seems to be that we travel day to day through time But that's not who we are. We're an eternal light body being inhabiting a physical form. And when you know that, you can collapse time. You can have the best life possible. Stay healthy, heal your body, heal your mind. And that's actually some of the conversations my mother was having with me when she was literally in the throes of being intoxicated, drunk, and reading the Bible, and getting me out of bed at 2 and 3 o'clock to tell me these revelations that she was seeing and having in visions and dreams, and didn't understand it, but she had to pass it down to me. And God knows it took a long time for me to get this understanding, because I didn't get it until August the 17th, 2003, of what time is. And I can't explain it to you except to tell you this. We were never meant to be on a clock calendar system. Now, the moon has always been significant, but even it is a trap in time and space. It's so diabolical what the ultra rulers of this realm have done to us. For one picture to come through from another reality seemingly is impossible. Nothing is impossible for God. Nothing is impossible for Yeshua ben Joseph, my brother. Words are escaping me right now, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this short. It's confusing, I know it is, because I ain't thought it out. I'm just speaking from my heart. But if it can happen to me, my brother, my sister, I'm going to say something that's going to shock you. It can happen in your life. If you have a loved one that has passed away, I think there's a window, a portal in time and space where they can communicate with us with this type of power, they can't come physical, but they can send a picture through. And you think you've seen every picture you've ever seen in your picture books? Have an open heart and open mind, and understand that now is the only time there ever is. Live your life in the presence of this moment. It is a present. Most people are living in the past and planning for a future that has them in fear. So I want to see and hear all over the world that people are finding pictures of loved ones that they never seen before. And I declare it in the name of Jesus. Believe it. It's real.